Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Thomas Taylor III coming to you live on Sunday, Christmas Eve. Woo! I hope everybody's doing well out there this morning. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, gonna be brief. I'm not gonna be before you long this morning. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Well, this morning I just want to talk about perspective, right? Last couple of days, I've been having conversations with a couple of good friends of mine, and we just was talking about different things that transpired in their lives, in my life, and my life as well, in terms of individuals passing away. I had some family members that passed away this year. My aunt, my uncle's wife, Renee Calderon. You know, she passed away this time last year. I know my uncle's still dealing with that situation. I know it's tough, as well as I know individuals who that during this time of the year got surplus from their job. Partner of mine is dealing with had a good business, making millions of dollars. Then things went south with the partner, got sued. Now he's in litigation, things of that nature. So, in terms of life, right? Like these things that I just mentioned our life, right? And nobody gets a pass from life. But my question this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is what is your perspective when things happen, right? Now, unfortunately, we live in a negative society, right? That's just the reality of it, right? Like things that are going on around us. When you turn on the news, those who watch the news, I know a lot of people don't even watch the news, so in terms of just things that are going on, there's war in different countries. They're fighting over the same thing that they've been fighting over, in biblical times, things of that nature. But how do you view things when life knocks on your door, when life knocks on my door, right? And that's kind of what I want to touch on this morning is just our perspective, right? So sometimes when things happen, whether it's death, loss of a job, just kind of a quote unquote negative situation, sometimes we forget that inside of that, there's a duality. You might say, Thomas, well, what do you mean by that? Well, just think about it. If you couldn't turn left, how could you turn right? Right? Just the opposite, right? If there was no night, how could there be light? Right? So what is darkness? Right? Darkness is the absence of light. Okay? The sun, right? The sun rises and the sun sets. Well, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So just think about that, right? So at night, you do what? Typically, you lay down and go to sleep. Then in the morning, you do what? You get up, right? Rise. You get up. The sun rises and sets, right? Just duality, right? Those are just a few examples. I could go on and on. But if you understand that there's a duality in most things, when life knocks on our door, when life happens, and we accept it, right? And then if we go on a negative connotation when things happen, is there another side to that? It's just a question. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, when it happens, because it happens fast, sometimes we cannot see the other side of things, right? So when we talk about death, right? My grandmother passed away over 25 years ago, right? And currently today, and I said this before, if somebody posts a picture of her or, my cousin's mention or something like that, I get all choked up, right? I get all misty eyed, I get all choked up. Why? Because of what she meant to me growing up, right? So after the mourning, right? So when somebody passes, right, you have to allow individuals to go through the emotional aspect of the loss, right? The grieving. So me, for my grandmother, I utilized the other side of that is I pulled from the strength that she taught me to become the young man that her and I talked about, that she wanted to see, physically see me become, right? To me, that's just a duality side. Like that's the other side of it in terms of, my cousin Charles passed away recently, a few weeks ago. It hit me hard as well because I helped raise him since he was young. You know what I mean? So I pull from the strength of the things that him and I went over in terms of how he viewed me, you know, the things that him and I talked about that he wanted to do, I wanted to do, right? I go over those conversations in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, and I pull from that particular energy, right? I'm just talking about, you know, perspective this morning, right? In terms of a duality. So during these holiday times, hey, we all know it's Sunday, Christmas Eve, right? One of the biggest holidays in America, right? Well, during these times, again, perspective. Everybody's not happy. A lot of people just want it to be over because a lot of individuals do not have their loved ones here any longer, right? So for some, it's a joyous, happy occasion, and for others, it's not, right? Just perspective, right? And if you're on one side or the other, it doesn't. I'm not talking about right or wrong, right? Because sometimes that's where we get into that gray area. Because why? Because right or wrong is predicated on an individual's experience, right? So I'm just talking about from a neutral standpoint, just perspective, ladies and gentlemen, right? So what happens if you in a situation where you are unfortunately in a position where your company is downsizing or downsize you department, things of that nature? How do you look at that, right? Like after you get through the emotions of it, what is the other side? Like, what is the positive side of that? Because I guarantee you, even though you may not think that there is one, right? And sometimes people call it a silver lining, right? Like you heard that terminology before, a silver lining. But what is the other side of that, ladies and gentlemen? Like, what does that look like? And sometimes we just have to stop and slow down, or slow down, and just think about, what is the positive out of this? Now that I'm not tied to that particular employee, does it give me an opportunity to really kind of determine and even think about what are my gifts, what are my talents, like what do I actually really want to do with my life, right? Versus just doing something that I had to do that I may even have liked to do because I was getting a check, right? So there's different ways to look at it. And this one, I just want to talk about just perspective, right? So think about it. Today, the 24th, we have 7 days, ladies and gentlemen, 7 days until a new year, right? Like, yep, I'm like you. Where did this year go, boy? Whoo, it went by in a blink. So now, perspective. We have 7 days. Some people are going to look at that 7 days and say, whoo, I can't wait for this year to be over. So I'm going to chill and then I'm going to start fresh in the new year, right? Just talk about perspective, right? Some people will say, hey, 7 days left in the year. I'm going to take those 7 days and I'm going to get a head start on the new year, right? So when the clock strikes 12, I'll be running into the new year. Versus other individuals, nah, I'm going to shut it down because things around me are slowing down. I'm going to shut it down. And when the clock strikes 12, then I'm going to think about what I'm going to do, right? Just a perspective, right? It doesn't mean like one is right and one is wrong. Like that's not what I'm insinuating. All I'm saying is sometimes we don't think about the other side of the perspective, right? For those who are going to get a rolling start into 2024, just think about what it looks like or what it feels like to, shut things down, to regroup, and then start. For those that are going to shut down, right, and then wait, just think about what it feels like or what it would be like to get a running start into the new year, right? So I'm just talking about perspective this morning because I think sometimes, again, when life shows up and when life impacts us, right, it's like a shock. Ooh, and all of a sudden, we kind of get frozen. And because, unfortunately, we tend to lean on the negative side of things, sometimes we kind of get comfortable there, not realizing or even thinking about it, or somebody not even challenging us to just think a little bit differently, kind of flip the coin and think a little bit differently about that same scenario that you're experiencing, right? It's just a different perspective, right? And it doesn't mean that somebody's perspective that's different is wrong, right? Or his is right, or theirs is right, and yours is wrong. Because if you kind of see what's going on around us, good morning, good morning, good morning. A lot of individuals like to debate, right? just want to debate just to debate, right? Because they ain't got nothing else to do, so they just want to challenge somebody and just debate, right? I'm just talking about being able to see things sometimes in a different perspective, in a different light, right? Because sometimes, good morning, good morning, good morning, Gladys. Sometimes there's energy in a different perspective, right? Because sometimes when we, are in particular situations, we kind of get this cocoon scenario, right? And we think that it's only us that's dealing with that particular situation, right? So, and if it's of a negative connotation, we kind of draw in. We don't talk to nobody, right? We don't let nobody know what's going on, right? I'm just talking about a perspective, right? So if you take that same scenario that you're dealing with and just ask yourself, like, what are the positives out of the situation that I'm going through, right? Because I guarantee you, they're positives, right? Let me get some help here. Alicia and Tony. Hey, good morning, Alicia. Good morning, Tony. There's different things like Alicia. Alicia's one of my classmates, right? She actually in her area, way up there, kind of Tennessee, experienced that tornado. Alicia, I hope everything is good out there. But that a tornado came, to Kentucky about 2 weeks or so ago, and just uprooted everybody's life. It was devastating, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I know there were lives that was lost, but there's a lot of property damage. People lost their homes. I mean, businesses, all types of things were going on, man. It was pretty bad up there. But again, in that scenario, what's the perspective, right? How are you looking at when life shows up? What do you do? What do you say? Who do you turn to? Where do you get your strength from? Where do you get your support from, right? Who's supporting you? That's key. Who do you have around you, right, to help get you through these things when life happens? At least she's kind of telling us what's going on. When life happens, who do you have around you that you can pull from a positive nature? Because you may be down and negative on yourself without any help. But who do you have around you that can help uplift you, right? Can help you see the other side of the devastation, right? And or of the negativity or of the situation that happened, whether it be, death, natural disaster, like whatever the situation is. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to remember this. As long as you wake up tomorrow and breathe another breath of fresh air, you, right? Yeah, you have another opportunity to get it right? To make a change. Because sometimes we look at situations as the be all end all, right? This happened to me, whether it be death, loss of employment, natural disaster, like that's it. And it's really not, right? Sometimes those things come to challenge us. They come to challenge us, good morning, to help us understand that there's another level, right? So I was talking to my partner last night and the things that he's going through. And I said to him, I said, just think about it. If that situation would not have happened to you, you would have never left, right? You would have never started your own company, right? To continuously make millions of dollars. You would have stayed loyal to that situation, not realizing that the situation was detrimental to you, right? But because things happened the way they happened, and it got your attention, and you realize that, oh, wait a minute, right? They're not really for me, and it forced you to make another decision, right? So I'm just talking about perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Are you dealing with, I'm leaving you with this. Are you dealing with something right now that could be impacting you from a negative standpoint, that it could be devastating to you based upon your situation, right? All I want you to do, all I'm asking is, I'm challenging you to flip the coin and look at it from a different perspective, right? Because I guarantee you, inside of there's another way, right? Now, again, like I said before, I'm not talking right or wrong. I'm just saying that if you look at the situation a little bit differently, you might find something in there, right, that you didn't realize was really beneficial for you and beneficial to you, right? If you need help, I'm a visionary coach. You can reach out. You can hit me on Facebook. You can hit me on, IG. I'll be more than glad to, spend some time with you, free consultation to kind of help you walk through some particular things, right? From a scriptural standpoint, right? If you need help, there's a book that has 66 chapters in it. If you happen to open it, look at somewhere in that Matthew 7 and 8 somewhere, and they'll tell you to ask. Very simple, ladies and gentlemen. It says ask, and guess what? You will receive. It says seek. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You will find. It says knock, and the door shall be open. So on this Christmas Eve, I just challenge those that are listening, no matter what's happening to you in life, if you deem it on a negative perspective, I just challenge you to look at the other side, because there is another side to the duality of what we all go through. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a plum-pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. Go out there on this Christmas Eve and make it a great day. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.